Welcome to another video. If you are new here, my name is Nina and I'm a life coach that specializes in personal development. On this channel, we just talk about everything having to do with our emotional well-being and self-growth. So if you aren't already a subscriber, go ahead and take a moment to become one because we definitely want you to be part of our community. So if you are experiencing a lot of pain and suffering due to a decision that you have made in the past or are making that is very unsettling for you, you are in the right place because that is exactly what we'll be talking about today. This topic was actually a request, so thank you, because I truly believe this is something that so many of us go through and it is such a horrible feeling. So many times we just really punish ourselves thinking about these decisions and kind of imagining all these terrible potential outcomes, and we really keep thinking about it and creating stories around it, and it really causes a lot of stress, anxiety, and sadness for us. So when we're talking about decision making, there's two different ways that it can kind of cause disruption in our life. And the first one is that we are second guessing ourselves. So we simply can't accept the decision that we made. We really go over the details over and over again, wonder if it was the right decision. Even though the decision has already been made, we continue to ruminate over it, even though there's really nothing that we could do about it at this point. The second way it can cause disruption is feeling deep regret for the decision that we made. So in this circumstance, we really feel convinced that we made a wrong decision. We're thinking about all those, again, potential terrible outcomes or outcomes that we feel have already happened. So it continuously keeps us suffering by bringing about anxiety and guilt and shame. We really just can't get past it. But the good news is that the pain associated with decision making or decisions that were made is something that can be alleviated. The first thing that we must remember is that regret and suffering are both completely changeable and transformable emotions because they are just based entirely on our own perception or discernment of the event that happened, which means we can get rid of the pain and suffering once we kind of work through it, process it, and understand it. Once we change our perspective, we can feel a lot of relief. So fear not, we are going to get to the bottom of it. So let's go ahead and start walking through this process. And the first thing we really need to comprehend is why the decision-making process is so difficult in the first place. Decisions can tend to feel very threatening and overwhelming because there's actually a lot of fear that we're experiencing because we are afraid to make the wrong decision, which is completely understandable. So sometimes this fear can kind of lead us down some precarious roads. So one of them might be that we overthink the situation to such a degree, we keep analyzing it over and over and over again to the point where we can no longer make a decision. We are too terrified to make a decision, so we don't make a decision. So not making a decision is a decision in and of itself, and that failure to make a decision oftentimes has some really serious repercussions. We are doing this, of course, because we want to kind of delay the pain, but we have to understand that at some point we're going to face the music. We also have to understand that there really is no wrong decision. It's always just our perception of what we feel is wrong. We do have to keep in mind that there are no absolutes in life. Nothing is black and white. So it's not a test we are going to pass or fail. It's just a decision that we have to make. So going back to the fear, there is another road it can push us to take, and that is that we personally decide we're not going to make that decision. We're going to outsource the decision. So in this case, we are looking for someone else that could be blamed for an unfavorable outcome. We want some kind of scapegoat so we don't have to have the pressure on us for making that decision. Now that strategy might seem great on paper, but in reality, if we are allowing ourselves to get swayed into making some kind of decision, it is very unlikely that that decision is in alignment to our own experience and values. So we're never going to be completely comfortable with it. And again, that can cause a lot of suffering for us. But before we beat ourselves up if we tend to use any of these kind of avoidance strategies, we have to understand that whenever we're making a decision, we are simply working with the information that we have at the time. And as crazy as the decision we made seems in retrospect, we do have to keep in mind that at that time we made that decision because either consciously or subconsciously, it was the one that was associated with the least amount of pain at the time. Decisions are made by weighing the benefits to the drawbacks, and we have to acknowledge that at that given moment, you thought that decision had more benefits, so you went with it. And I know that's often a hard thing to accept because we have that fear that that decision caused ourselves harm or caused harm to another person or caused harm to our potential future. We might feel exposed in some way. We might feel that that decision really tarnished our reputation or ruined our reputation. So our worry is really coming from a desire to somehow control the universe. We are in reality not able to control the outcome of a situation for good or for bad. So of course that's a lot easier to accept when the outcome of a decision is favorable, but even when it's not favorable, we do have to understand that that does not mean that it was a bad decision. It just led to an unfavorable outcome. The same with that good outcome. Doesn't mean that the decision was any better. It just means that it happened to have that better outcome. These external factors are simply not in our control. We can't control the outcome. We can't control people's reactions. So there's always going to be some degree of rolling the dice whenever we make any type of decision. We have to be realistic and accept that there is never a guaranteed end result. So we need to take that weight off our shoulders because we will never be able to know what will happen once that decision is actually made. We have to be compassionate with ourselves and understand that every decision that we make, we are either consciously or subconsciously trying to meet some kind of need by making that decision. We either want to feel something or we want to avoid feeling something. So we need to look into that and see exactly what that is. We also tend to forget that so much of the regret that is associated with making decisions comes from information that comes about well after the decision was made. So we have to understand that if we had had that information, we certainly would have come to a better decision. But we worked with the information that we had at the time. So that's something that we have to really remember and think about as well. And something that is difficult to remember when we are experiencing that pain and suffering is that life is happening always for us, not to us. So any potential negative things that are coming from this decision actually somewhere inside has a benefit for us. It has a lesson. It has something that is going to enhance our life somehow. So we need to learn to shift our paradigm and kind of look through and search for the positives that are there. There are always positives. So we just need to think about all these different factors that are really at play when we are thinking about the suffering we're experiencing from these decisions. So give it the thought and self-analysis that it deserves, and if it still is something that is causing you pain, if you really can't get past this decision, do not worry. In our next video, I'm going to walk you through a specific step-by-step process to really get to the bottom of why this particular decision is causing you so much pain and help walk you through the process of feeling better about it. So I will be posting that in a day or two, so look out for that. And I hope this video was helpful to you and that it shed some light on why making decisions can be so troublesome. If you enjoyed this video, please give it a thumbs up and share it with someone who might need to see this message today. I greatly look forward to seeing you the next time, and I hope you have an extraordinary day.